fair to say that by and large, Tomas Soucek wasn't a popular pick for the starting lineup against Aston Villa in what was Julen Lopetegui's first game. I think a lot of people were looking for a new dawn, and I think when they looked at that, they thought, well, hold on, this is just more of the same. This isn't good. The midfield isn't going to function like that. And I think I was certainly one of them. In fact, I'd go further than that. I'd already written Soucek's obituaries as soon as I knew Lopetegui was coming in. I've said it a few times on this channel. We produced videos for this channel, and we did 3 players to thrive under Lopetegui and 3 players to struggle under Lopetegui. Soucek was in there for me. It just didn't fit with what I'd heard. It didn't fit with certainly the description of the type of football that Lopetegui was going to play, which was a passing, possession-based game. And with that in mind, I thought, well, actually, you'll probably quite like James Ward-Prowse. I just didn't think he'd get a game. I didn't think he'd get any minutes at all. We got a glimpse in the Celta Vigo game where he was massively involved. And then, by the way, we got the big announcement, I felt, against Aston Villa, which was 90 minutes for Tomas Soucek. And that was a big deal. Now, I'm not saying he's going to play 90 minutes every game, far from it. But what it did was, if you were in any doubt whether or not Soucek was part of Lopetegui's long-term plans, that told you all you needed to know. There were players who are definitely going to stick around who were substituted, and Tomas Soucek wasn't one of them. And in many respects, I've got an admiration for his durability. I really do, and for his resolve and how he seems to appeal to a brand new manager, basically, who apparently has a new ethos and a new style of playing. Yet there he was. We had vintage Tomas Soucek in many respects, popping up in the box and producing what was quite an effective performance. Now, what I want to say is there are a lot of people very, very critical of Soucek's performance. And I'm no cheerleader for him as a ball-playing central midfielder. We're not looking at Clarence Seedorf or Pirlo or De Bruyne here. This is not what we're looking at. However, and I didn't like the tactics. Let me point that out as well. I thought the tactics left us overrun in midfield, left Rodriguez, or treacle-toed Rodriguez, left him on his own in midfield. I think he's going to be a good player, Rodriguez, but I felt he was left isolated, and in many respects it was him and Lucas Paquetá. They were having to firefight on their own because Soucek was absent. But make no mistake about it. Soucek was absent because he was being instructed to be absent. Soucek was up there. It was vintage Soucek. He was back. It wasn't even box-to-box in many occasions. He was up there. I wouldn't call him a striker, but for a large part of that game, he played as a centre-forward. And I think what happened is a lot of people were really annoyed with his performance, but I think in many respects it was almost like a vote of frustration. It was rather than an actual appraisal of what he'd done. Because actually, you don't have to like the way he was deployed. But once you've decided that you don't like it, and I didn't like that, I thought we were getting a different midfield to that, you then almost have to put your own personal opinions to one side. I think, well, did he do a good job in the role he was asked to do? And the answer is yes for me. I thought he was a constant menace. I thought he was a complete pain in the bum, actually, to the Aston Villa defence. And I actually thought I'd go further than that. I thought he was our biggest goal threat. And I'm looking at it now and thinking, this guy's going nowhere. This old 9 Live Soucek, as I called him the other day. He really isn't. And I think that's impressive. I'm not sure how much of the composition of that midfield I want to see. It has to be said. But it does appear that he's not surplus to requirements under Julen Lopetegui. Far from it. It does appear that we're going to see a lot more long balls than certainly I thought we were going to see. We're going to see a lot more crosses. And I think in many respects, Tomas Soucek, depending on how much he's going to play, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a lot of goals this season. I really wouldn't. So actually, in terms of his instructions, what was he instructed to do? Stay up there, cause a bit of menace in the box. Succeeded. We did our Patreon player ratings, basically. And during our Patreon player ratings, I think it was James pointed out that actually Soucek had only made 8 passes during the game. That's awful. And it's bad, isn't it? There's no doubt about it. If you're a midfielder. But if that's not the remit you've been given, and don't get me wrong, I don't think we'll ever see a time when Tomas Soucek will make 60, 70 accurate passes in a game. But if what he's been told is, don't worry about that, we got that covered. We're going to put you up top, cause havoc in the box. You would have to concede that he did it boy, he did a better job of it than Mikel Antonio. There's no doubt about that at all. But I've not suggested I want him to be West Ham striker, far from it. But I think he did a good job. And I think he's here to stay. And I don't resent that, by the way. I don't. I think fair play to him. If you can keep your place in the team when a new manager comes in with a new ethos, and I don't think it's a completely different style, as I mentioned, then do you know what? Fair play to you. And I suspect if he stays around, Tomas Soucek's going to make... he's going to have some decision-making... that's performances, some decisive performances. That's the word I'm looking for. I think he's going to make a difference this season. I really do. And I think fair play to him. Anyway, what I want to do now is I want to play you, myself and Geo, debating the Tomas Soucek situation. It was during our player ratings video, which we do over on Patreon. The link for Patreon is in the description below. It's patreon.com/HammersChat. After every single West Ham game, we sit down and we do a player ratings. It not only is it a video, it's a game. And it's a game that we put together, which we eventually find out our organic hammer of the year. We sit down, discuss each and every player and substitute, give them all a mark, and at the end of the season, Stephen, who collates all of our data, is a great guy and a great addition to Hammers Chat. He puts it all together, lets us know who our hammer of the year are. But as it goes on, really, really good to look at the data, and sometimes you surprise yourself. You might think someone's done badly, then you look and think, actually, you've scored them relatively highly. So this is a segment from the video. Over on Patreon. We're going to play that now. It's basically a free part of it. If you want to come and join us on Patreon, it really is the best way that you guys can support Hammers Chat. As I say, the link's in the description below. There are 3 separate tiers. We have competitions, we have prizes, ticket giveaways, discounts to our online store. We've given away so many signed shirts and match-worn shirts. It's unbelievable. We think it's really, really good value, particularly the lowest tier at £3.60. But why don't you go and try it out yourself? Our middle tier, our mild addicts, we have a 7-day free trial. Go and check it out now. This is part of the stuff you get, but there's so much more than just player ratings. We got the Babbling Irons over there. We got the Overland and Sea Words podcast, which is a right old laugh. We have myself and Geo do our Naked podcast on there. We've got the Anton Ferdinand podcast. We've got loads of analytical stuff as well. We have interviews. We have opposition. Honestly, so much opposition previews. We have the breakfast build-up show as well. Interviews with referees, interviews with scouts. There's loads of stuff. And if you join up now, you can go and watch all that old stuff retrospectively. So there's a whole load of interviews there for you to go and see as well. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling now. Here's what myself and Geo had to say about Tomas Soucek.
Going back to Tomas Soucek, thank you, Stephen, in live chat. And what we're giving him?
I'm going to give him a 7. I thought he was responsible, obviously, partly for the first goal. You saw the worst of his technique there by surrendering the corner. I think you also saw the best of his technique as well. It's easy to just talk about rainbow flicks and who did the Rabona? Was
Kudus.
It was Kudus, wasn't it? Yeah, brilliant.
To Soucek, yeah.
Yes, and Soucek should have done better on there. But it's easy to talk about those sort of skills. The chest down was magnificent. There was a too much emphasis in the commentary about whether it should or shouldn't been. What Soucek did was brilliant. It's hard enough to chest the ball. It's hard enough then to direct it into the way you want to go. He forced that whole sequence of events from Matty Cash. Soucek forced it as well, and he left his leg in. And I reasonably, particularly bearing in mind some of the things we've seen throughout the weekend, particularly in the Newcastle game, particularly subtly, I thought. The whole manoeuvre, chest down, bang, there, let it go, leave the leg in to get crunched. He knew what he was doing. It was perfect technique in winning the penalty. I thought West Ham only had 2 people that really troubled Aston Villa, and Tomas Soucek was one of them. I thought he was a menace actually throughout. I think he was a pain in the arse. I think he was. We talk about Bowen, we'll talk about other players. I'd imagine at the end of that game, probably the one player that Aston Villa were pleased to see the back of. I can't even believe I'm saying these things, by the way. I think he'd be playing. I never mind talking about all this. Should have wrapped the game up. Should have scored from Soucek, from Kudus's Rabona, as we've mentioned. But 4 or 5 chances inside the box involved. Decent. Yeah. Almost vintage Soucek, actually. I've got to say, I was pleased with what I saw.
Yeah, I think it was. vintage Soucek, and I think that's part of the problem. And this is going to be a frustration. I've read many comments regarding Soucek, and I can see one in the live chat, which I'll click on in a second. I've said this to you before. Soucek is a reminder and a symbol of David Moyes,
Sure.
and I think that's going to be held against Tomas Soucek. Maybe not intentionally, but I think it just reminds people of Moyes ball and people that don't like Moyes ball. I think arguably, if Moyes was watching that, he'd have thought, bloody hell, that's my Suture, that's my Tommy, that's prime Tomas Soucek. This is why it almost justified Moyes' inclusion of Tomas Soucek by Lopetegui, who's supposed to be inflicting his new style at West Ham with possession base, and he's gone, actually, this guy's a fantastic goal threat. I need this guy in the box. And he was in the box a lot. He was by far our biggest and only goal threat. I agree with you. There's two players that troubled Villa defensively. He was one, Kudus was the other. But Kudus didn't trouble Emi Martinez. Tomas Soucek did trouble Emi Martinez. Complete difference. I'm going to give him a 6. Thought he was decent. Should have done better at the end. Funny enough, I know there's a lot of emphasis on the rebound, which he skied, but I actually think it's the header he should be scoring. That, to me, that's Tomas Soucek's bread and butter. Bang, but it was going wide. It just, luckily for him, Consa didn't know that and blocked it. But I think had Consa not been there, I think it would have went past the post. The second one, it has an XG of 0.93, which I think is a bit harsh. He's on the stretch. I think it's a harder chance than it's made out to be. And people have taken this still image of Soucek going to hit it and going, how's he missed that? Well, that's misleading. It doesn't show the bit where Soucek's had to leap and get a full stretch to get that. I think the header's the bigger miss, in my opinion. But caused Villa defence's problems, but I think it possibly caused our defence problems as well by Soucek being so far up the pitch.
The midfield didn't function.
This is a tactical thing, though. I don't think this is a Tomas Soucek thing. It's a Lopetegui thing. And two things I'm going to click on. First one by James saying that 10 passes in 97 minutes for Soucek, which is correct. But I think Soucek wasn't a central midfielder on Saturday. On paper, when the lineup comes out, he's there next to Rodriguez. But the way we played, it wasn't just in the last 5 minutes when we needed the goal. Throughout the 90 minutes, Soucek was in that 18-yarder every opportunity. I think it might have been Kudus setting the ball in towards the end of first half. Soucek won at the back post. It was well defended. It was a difficult chance, but he was in that box every single time we got forward. He was there as a striker.
Yes.
So 10 passes, yes. As a central midfielder, that is poor. However, I don't think he was a central midfielder on Saturday.
Often the furthest man forward. A lot of occasions.
Let me show you this. This is for those that didn't see my video yesterday. This is the average position for West Ham players on Saturday. Let me bring up on the screen. You can see there, number 28 is Tomas Soucek.
Okay.
He's the furthest player forward.
I hadn't seen that.
So as you can see, Soufal and Emerson quite tucked in for fullbacks. Kudus is quite far in as well. Antonio's a little bit where you'd expect Antonio to be. Bowen's where you'd expect him to be. Rodriguez is where you'd expect the central midfielder to be. Paqueta is probably where you expect Paqueta to be because he drops back so often, pick the ball up. So those average positions feel right. In Somerville and Fulk, the top two, that's because obviously when they came on, we needed a goal and Villa were getting pushed back. So naturally their positions are going to be higher. And it says a lot about Fulkrug that he's roughly the exact same as Antonio. It's almost like for like them two, Antonio and Fulkrug. They're pretty much, they're overlapping. But look at Tomas Soucek's average position, the furthest forward player for West Ham. And I'm just surprised Aviol isn't on the line.
Yeah. Look, he was one of the few players that did his job. You've got to separate. You might not like his job. You might not like that he's in the team. But bearing in mind where he's been asked to play, which is basically to be a goal threat. Listen, I've been, like James said about the 10 passes, more than anyone, I was picking out when he had the 8 passes and stuff like that. But he was doing something different there. You know what I mean? This was, I can't mark him down because he's not Pirlo in a game where he's the focal point of the attack. He did it. He did his job. I hope we don't, but I also, all you can do is I can't punish him for being one of Moyes' signings and playing like that, because I thought that was prevalent. I thought there was a lot of it with a lot of the team. I do think it's going to take some shifting, some of that stuff. Actually, I think we might be in for a longer journey in terms of. I'm not sure.
Well, you got the
I'm not
captain's
sure we're going to be
armband.
getting tippy-tappy football, to put it this way.
No, I think that's what you see. A lot of crosses. Lopetegui, a lot of crosses. And if you are going to be doing lots of crosses, then arguably Soucek's the right person to have on the pitch and in the box. And I mean, to be fair, it will work. If we were to play a game and we had Fulkrug and Soucek in the team and we were just putting in loads of crosses, we will get goals off the back of that, because a lot of the goals don't necessarily come from those two. It'll be the knockdowns, it'll be the rebounds, and then you've got the likes of Bowen picking that up. So it will yield success, I think. It just might not be what people want to see.
Yeah.
And it might not be the attacking, adventurous football that people were hoping for post David Moyes. I think you're going to get a little bit of a hybrid, which is possession in safe areas of the pitch, which is at the back, knocking it between themselves. And then you're going to see the long balls and you're going to see the crosses. And I think, Tomas Soucek got the armband from Jared Bowen as well. That is very telling, I think. Lopetegui has shown with Zuma, he's not afraid to boot the captain out of the club if he has to. Soucek gets 90 minutes against Celta Vigo, 90 minutes against Aston Villa. Captain's armband when Jared Bowen goes off. This is a man that's here to stay in Lopetegui's starting 11, I think. Sure. I don't think. We speak about the centre-backs. Oh, which centre-back's going to go? Which centre-back's going to go? Well, which centre midfielder's going to go? I think we've just got our answer as well. If one of them are going, I don't think either will go, by the way. I think it'll be Irving is the one that leaves. I think it'll just be get what we can for him or loan him out and keep Ward-Prowse and Soucek.
Yeah.
Because you might find Soucek becomes Lucas Paqueta's replacement in that number 10 role.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do, we don't know. We both had him out. We both said that in our videos. We both had Soucek leaving, right?
To struggle under Lopetegui.
Yeah. All you can do is deal with the evidence of your own eyes. So we got one, as far as I'm concerned, I've got one game. One game, and I'm not going to apologise for assessing that game. That's all you can. It's not an overview for the season, but it's okay. He's trying to pick little bits out and see what's going to happen. I totally agree. That one game has changed my perception of what Tomas Soucek's going to happen under Lopetegui. Definitely. Yeah,
I agree. And this is important. As I always say, when you get new data, reevaluate.
100%.
Until we get more, this is our opinion.